Hey everybody, it's another week, another week, another week. What's up? How you doing? How you doing? Today is Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Let me know in the comments how you've been feeling this week. Prompt is like, what's your favorite TV show when you're stressed? And, like when you're so stressed, you like don't even want to watch TV. And then you're just like, but then you still find something anyway. And it's a good question, I think. Speaking of prompts, I've been researching for my novel again. Getting into like a daily habit's like really hard for me for anything. It's like, for example, like doing these streams. These streams are very difficult for me to maintain. Like any kind of consistency, because a lot of what I've kind of noticed about myself and like the way I run my life and run my tasks is it's very based on how I feel, which is not very sustainable, because I should be able to, the show must go on. It's a weird contrast between like the reality of like my trained skills. I'm trained as like a musician and as like a performer, even a little bit as an actor. I hope to get some training as a model. I am very disciplined when it comes to like the craft of something. But the bad thing about that, I mean, not the bad, but it's weird that when it's like a bigger production, I can really just relax and like put my all into it. And obviously there's always butterflies in the stomach and all that kind of stuff. But if there is like somebody, like other people besides myself, like in a like, I don't even know how to like describe it, because like for the internet, obviously there are AI people, but like let's just focus on the real people. Let's factor out all the fake people, all the bots and all that kind of stuff. So for some reason in my mind, and I think this is normal for most people, but like I'm just saying, like for me, I separate things between things that are like just things that I schedule, like for my own, like my own schedule, and then I separate that from like what other people schedule me to do. So if somebody else schedules me for something, I'm gonna show up to that even if I'm dying. Like if someone says, hey, like there's other people, there's like wardrobe, there's like makeup people, there's like, there's all these people who are relying on you showing up. That's because I care about people. But like, shouldn't I care about myself? I guess that's the real question. I don't know if it has an answer. But like showing up to these streams is hard, because a lot of the time it's like, well, I don't want to show up and like, be super emotional and get canceled again. I don't even know if I can get canceled. Like, yeah, I'm white, but I'm Native American and French, which is worse. Okay, but I am like a white female, but like I'm a female. But then it's like I'm a trans female, but then because I'm a trans female. But like, I'm poor. I'm intelligent. Everything about me is redeemable. That's not fair. I need to get canceled, guys. No, I mean, I'm sure I could get canceled if I did something bad enough, but like, let's not go there. The good thing is, like, I keep worrying about stuff that's happened, like, in childhood. getting me canceled. Like, are you serious? Like, that is so delusional, and it has nothing to do with me. That is so delusional in the sense that people literally support, like, GoFundMe pages for people who are convicted of murder. Rebecca, you are delusional if you think people are going to cancel you. And it's not like I'm doing anything now that's like bad. And unless I like murdered someone, like, geez, knock on wood. Listen, I have like extreme anxiety around if like I say, because I am very opinionated, and I've seen what happened to Asmongold with, like, he apparently feels like he can't even leave his house. I don't know if that's true. So even for Asmongold, I don't even think it's true. I think he just is imagining it. I think he could totally leave the house and make friends and not have to worry about it at all. And also, I think it's like, it's all in the head, right? Like, what people think about you doesn't really matter, because the people who are going to have like the worst opinions about you, you could just like kind of dismiss them. And if you feel like you can't, that's like more of that's like a different problem. That's more like you want to be the person that doesn't stress that person out, or you want to be the person that doesn't cause harm to others. That's a different thing. And if that's the case, then just do that. If you truly don't care, then why would you feel so much anxiety? I think, like, he said it this way before, is that basically it's not that, it's like he actually cares a lot about people. This is why I relate to him a lot, or maybe I fell for it, I don't know, but this is why I relate to him a lot, because like, I feel like he's almost like exactly like, at least on the I'm pretty sure he's on the autism spectrum. I think he's on the same spectrum as me, with like very deep empathy. Very deep empathy. Oh, my dear Lord Empathy. My dear Lord Empathy, what are you doing out of bed? Don't you know that we have a deadline? And you have to die. A deadline. Okay. Empathy. No, not empathy, empathy. Damn it. The way I feel about things is that I worry that real people are going to be impacted or affected negatively by some opinion of mine that I've said on the internet. But here's the thing is, I don't want to get too into this, but this did kind of happen in real life recently. And I was just like, okay. And I just like kind of took a step back, because it's not about me. Okay, like, people say controversial things on the internet every day. Okay. And I think I'm pretty redeemable. And I don't think I'm saying anything that bad. And I think the things I'm saying, if you actually listen to them, I'm trying to make a point. I'm not trying to hurt people. And I think people understand that. And I think the only one who doesn't is me. Like, for some reason, I think I'm a monster. It's like this like little bunny rabbit. This little cute little bunny rabbit thinks it's like a dragon. Like, it thinks it's a big monster that's a big bad. That's gonna like, just that everybody hates. It's like this little cute little like anime bunny. It's like this weird situation for me where it's like, internally I feel like I'm this big giant monster. Like Mr. Mimanya from Perfect Blue. I am more like the girl that's being stalked than that guy. But for some reason, like, internally I'm like, I'm a monster like him. Actually, no, like, let's be real, I'm probably more like Rumi. because I think I could be famous. I don't know. I don't want to spoil the anime, but it's a really good anime called Perfect Blue. I think it's based on a novel. You know, this is like why I really need to like become truly fluent in Japanese, because I know how to read and write. Well, not really, but like in Japanese, I kind of know how to like read, and I can understand conversation while listening. And I don't know, being a foreigner, I think it's even better if I just stay quiet if I were to visit Japan. And also because I'm a woman and it's kind of expected. I know things are changing, which is good, but at the same time, change happens very slowly over time, and I don't want to like blame another culture or like accuse another culture, but every culture has its problems, and every single one of them is rooted in oppressing women. Because women have been used as like incubators, and especially if you can't get pregnant. That's another one. If you can't get pregnant, suddenly you're less valuable. Right? So that whole, it's disgusting, in my opinion. Like the whole idea that somebody's worth is hinging on whether or not they can start having children with you. Like that's the only goal in life. That, I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good. I have been having like a lot of anxiety, and I think it's normal to have this kind of anxiety if you're very outspoken on the internet, or just here's the thing, is whoever you are as a person, you were like that before the internet happened. And so it's kind of weird. Maybe it's a bit different for people like born like Gen Z and like Gen Alpha for sure, but like I really think that like they just kind of speed run it, because it's like all these things that I think that like when we get into like social media, what we're really drawing on is like an internalized like kind of instinct. And I think like there's things that happen with humans that are universal that just get kind of speed run on the internet, that like I think have always happened throughout history. For example, like, you know, like becoming a celebrity, that has happened to like a ton of people throughout history. And celebrity doesn't mean like world famous. Like you don't have to be famous to be a celebrity. You can be a celebrity just to like a small like group of people. Like you're the person in the group that gets all the hate, all the attention. If something bad happens, you get the blame for it. It could happen at like a job. It could happen like in a school. It could happen in the work, or in like a neighborhood, or a small community, or a gaming community. Like if you're the celebrity archetype, and I'm starting to think about like archetypes more, and I don't want to leak too much about my writing endeavors right now, but like right now I'm in a research stage and I am utilizing AI. Okay, get over it. AI is a tool and it's helping me organize my thoughts so then I can put more focus into what truly matters, which is the human element. And I think people need to stop trying to control the narrative, because AI exists whether you want it to or not. And you as an artist, you have to decide, are you going to be somebody who's going to make excuses and be angry at other artists? Or, you know, which is definitely like something that some people do. Or are you going to change that and say, you know what, I'm going to take ownership, and if everybody else has access to this, then I may as well have access to it too. And it can do things that are not like, it doesn't write for you. And if it does, well then it's writing. You aren't. You're using it wrong, in my opinion. What I have been using it for is I started a single thread. And that thread, I'm using Perplexity. That's my AI of choice. I think it's worked really well for me. Compared to OpenAI or like, you know, and also Perplexity also allows you to pick and choose different AIs. So I'm using the Pro version because I finally, kind of said, you know what, I'm using this like every day. I may as well get higher value from it. And it gives you more pro searches, which is like just better searches. So you're getting more quality with your invested time and invested efforts. And as a writer, a prolific writer, if I might say so, somebody who's constantly searching for answers, I feel like that's like, $20 a month is not like the end of the world. I could just like, instead of, cancel one of my like, Netflix or something. It's fine. Like, what would be better? A professional AI tool that can help like organize my thoughts so I can actually get stuff done, or like a TV show that I probably not even gonna watch for like 5 months. I've been paying for Netflix for like a year. I think I've watched like 2 shows on it. Whatever. The thing is like, I've been told I kind of like have researched into like how AI works, and not even just research like about AI, but just diving into the AI chatbot itself and figuring out what it does. Like, what is its nature? It's not something that is like and even if it were human, you should not be treating people as replacements for your own work. You should be using them as like supplements to be able to do things that you could potentially do, but it can do it a lot faster. It can do it like a lot more like just, you get your phone and you say like, basically I started a thread and this is the only thing I'm really going to leak. And I've talked about this on stream before, so that's why it's like, but not that anybody's really listening, but like to anybody who knows already, well, it's verifiable. I guess if you go through you'd have to go through my YouTube VODs because it's probably gone from Twitch. But like, nobody's gonna do that. But at the same time, if somebody has like just happened to have heard me talk about my novels, I've talked about this before. So this isn't like new information, but I'm starting to consolidate like the mythology. I call it a mythos. I don't know why. I like saying mythos. I like saying mythos rather than mythology. I don't know why. It's funny how language works. But I've been sitting on this idea since 2011. And this is like I was actually gonna write Evenstar first and then write this Age of Legend as a prequel novel. But now I'm reimagining the entire universe as it's the same universe reset across different like epochs of time. Not like Wheel of Time so much, but like more like it's like a reiteration of the same universe, but it's like somebody rolled the dice and like reshuffled it. Like every single novel set on Tress. 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 Every novel that I write that is set in that universe revolving around Tress, and there is a second book series that has the same idea of duality of a portal in between 2 realms, like a kind of like vampiric realm and a demon realm, and then like or angel realm, however you want to frame it. Angels and demons. Like the theme of that is that angels and demons, like, it's all a matter of perspective. One person's angel is another person's demon. A vampire is also a person. Like, it could just be normal for them, right? So it's like, but like, so to them, like an angel would be a demon because the angel might see the vampire as something bad. But like, the vampire is just a vampire in its own world. It's not evil. But if it comes into another world, compared to like the mortal realm, they're seen as a problem. but like they're just being themselves. There is like that's like one of the themes of my novels, is that there is a universal human nature inside of us, and that if we copy pasted ourselves into someone else, it's so much easier to hate, to like, well, usually it's easier to like love another person, and it's easier to hate ourselves. But if we took something that we cherished and something that we loved in someone else, and we replaced it and put it in ourselves, it'd be so easier to hate ourselves. But I want to like kind of like take that to the extreme and make that entire novel series about, or I mean, usually they're standalone novels, but like I like to leave the door open for potential sequels, but I want to make a standalone novel that someone can read, and even if they don't read the other novels in that mythology universe, in that mythos, like even like, because they're all like Uriel, Evenstar, Inner Defense, and then this like this new one that I don't, it's untitled. I thought I was gonna write Evenstar first, and I might still finish it because I already finished the first draft, and I'm like working on the second draft, and I just got to get the scenes out. And now I'm like starting to get into a daily habit and like of like researching and thinking about the characters, and AI is really helping me kind of like, you know, it's also correcting some of my issues. I have to correct the AI too. I'm like, hey, like, by the way, that thing that you speculated about, this, I'm stating that this is how I'm going to write the novel. And then it's like, then it like adjusts, and it's like, okay, like, because the AI can't replace my work. My work is already existing within me, and I just have to kind of like let it happen. And I feel like I have to treat this like how J.R.R. Tolkien treated like Lord of the Rings and like the Arda universe. With like, he basically wrote like so many different like stories revolving around like the Arda creation myth, and like all this other stuff, like the, you know, the first age, the second age, like the Silmarillion kind of stuff, but like even deeper than that, like the Lost Tale, the Book of Lost Tales, and all that kind of stuff. The Lay of Lethian, or whatever it was called, Balerion. I don't even know. I have to do what Tolkien did. I have to write Uriel's story, because even though it's only one standalone novel, I feel like it's the center of it all, that starts it all, because it involves like a big, like, you know, gods. It's like Uriel is basically like he's born with like imbued with, I don't want to give too many details because it's just frankly it doesn't really matter, but it's not like that'll come with the story, the details. But the big idea of Uriel is that he's basically like a Hercules or like a Guts, depending on how you look at it. But he is basically a living god. And it's a world of gods, but like it's hidden, and like it's based on Hebrew mythology a lot. This is why I'm focusing on Uriel, because Uriel is actually very underrepresented in all of like the Kabbalic texts and stuff. And I'm also going in, and now that I've done the research and collated, I actually want to go in and read the original texts. I don't know Hebrew, so I have to read the English, but I kind of want to learn Hebrew. I wanted to learn Hebrew a long time ago, actually, but I got distracted. I would love to learn Hebrew and read these original like mystical texts and stuff, like all these like sephers and like and also like, you know, and also, you know, the original Torah and all that kind of stuff. Like, that'd be cool. I want to basically reshuffle and reimagine multiple world mythologies, with the central character being one from Abrahamic mythology, of like Uriel and his brother Ariel, and their father Raziel, siding with Terra, which is like kind of going into like the even more ancient mythology of like the Earth Mother, the Gaia. You know, she is the like first sentient being on the planet, and she's the oldest one on the planet, and she's been killing the planet in order to enslave it. Because in her mind, and the theme of all of these novels is that it kind of turns around on its head the theme of bringing order to chaos. It's bringing chaos to shuffle around something that is too orderly, like fascism, which is like I feel like it's very relevant in today's world. There's so much chaos in today's world, and we need order, but then the order that we're getting is very scary, because it's almost like we get what we deserve. And if we deserve fascism, then that sucks. We shouldn't deserve fascism. That's basically what's going on in today's world. Is like, it's like people are trying to answer chaos with order, because we have created absolute chaos with like the social media landscape. People are losing their fucking minds, and people are capitalizing on that and using it to grab power. If only I could do that. I'd be rich. But no, the thing is that in my stories, I want to showcase the reality that if you have too much order, it becomes fascism. It becomes control. It becomes slavery. And so I want to bring chaotic characters to the forefront. People who would normally be seen as villains. Not anti-heroes, but like people, this is like the idea of like the demons and vampire thing. Like, in their own universe, they're not evil. They just are. It's their nature. Something that you call evil within its own framework is actually not that bad. It's actually even good if you compare it to itself. But if you put it in a contrasting area where it's like, okay, you put like a vampire around humans, they're gonna start killing humans. That's bad for humans. But for a vampire, that's just having lunch. But that doesn't mean they should do it, because they have to realize they're in a situation where they are seen as the problem. And I don't want to do vampires so much. It's not really vampires. It's more like just undead. Like just general undeadness. I think that's like a better approach nowadays, because vampires have been kind of played to death. Not that like vampires are bad. They're so popular for a reason. They appeal to a lot of human nature and a lot of human vanity and a lot of human fears and also desires. However, I want to like kind of like reframe the entire idea of like the root element, which is undeath. But maybe literally vampires, and there'll be like a complete subsection of like people who are like mortals, who are like either like involved in like drug lord activity or vampire hunters. There's like a whole group of hunters. Like those are going to be the central characters in that story, even though the main characters are actually like, you know, vampires and like demons. Like those are going to be the main like stage, and those are the two worlds. I'm going to frame the story through the point of view of the outsiders, because it's the outsiders who see things for how they are, which is like the theme of every single novel I'm writing. Even Star, totally Even Star. She is an enigmatic, like very unlikable woman who lives forever but lives in isolation and influences the common world through like subtle manipulation of the upper echelons of society over time. But she is an outsider. She's not a part of like the mainstream. She's not part, like Tully is like, if it were any other time period, she would be the villain. because she's like this, like she just doesn't care about anybody but herself. You know, she like just, she doesn't care about human life. She just takes action and just doesn't think about the consequences. She's like just not even a good person. But in the framework of this story, obviously you could say, oh, but there's a bigger bad. It's not even that. It's more complicated than that. It's that she can see herself as a person who is going to be doing something meaningful. It's not about as a reader, it's not about our perception of her, it's about her perception of herself. That because of the time period that she's living in and because of the events that are happening in her life, it reshapes her entire identity and who she is and what her values are. And that's like what I've been going through. And I've been kind of like using the AI, and it's like I've been teaching the AI not every detail about myself, but like a lot of details about like the key core elements that I've been trying to like boil down to like what my journey has led me to what my journey has like led me to, like working through the universal truths that through my life I can discover, and my journey that I went through of identity, of self-actualization, of community building, of you know, like doing what needs to be done. Like these are all things that like my novel are obviously gonna, every novel I write, every story I write is going to be, even every live stream I do like this is going to be rooted in that central like life tree, if you want to, or like if you want to put it that way. In fact, there is even like elements of the life tree. In fact, there is even a character named Yggdrasil in Evenstar, who is a remnant, but not a direct reference to the Uriel creation myth. Or it's not a creation myth, but it's like, it's the origin of that planet, basically. There might even be something even bigger than Tress. But that's another novel to explore way down the line after I've already finished and solidified a lot of these stories in my head. Like literally by writing them and having them published so I could sit down and read them and then become a reader. Because when you become the reader and you set the book down, you can then work on another book. Like I have to become the reader, and that's my journey. Is I'm so angry that I have to be the writer that I'm gonna finish the goddamn book so I can just sit down in my bed and just relax and read the book, just like everyone else. That's how selfish I am. That's my motivation for finishing my novels. Not because I want to publish them, not because I want to make a lot of money. I mean, writing is not. I might have gold on my hands, okay? I might have gold inside of this mind of mine. Because these stories, and the AI seems to agree, need to exist. And they will do really well. Like, they will do really well. In fact, every reader that I've provided, even like the, you know, I've provided, you know, scenes and also overviews and summaries to a few alpha readers, and the overall response is that this is good. Like good. Like this is like your Lord of the Rings good. Like it has the potential to become the next big, like, epic fantasy. Good. Now, obviously, I still have to write it. And writing is hard. Okay, writing's hard. Okay, it's not something that I take lightly either. I don't want to just shuffle out a story. Maybe that's what's hanging me up, and I need to just like, hey, I don't have to publish it until it's ready. And I'm not going to publish it unless I've had direct consultation with a professional. like at least an editor. And I would prefer not to self-publish unless I know for a fact, like if suddenly I had like 20,000 followers on, or 20,000 viewers on my Twitch stream every single day, then I would self-publish because that would work. But that's not the strategy. The strategy is like, I need to build trust. And as an unpublished writer, I don't have that trust. And so you need to like go through the system, go through an agent, go through an editor at least, depending on the publishing house, and get rejected by the people who are going to be like, you know what, like, you know, we aren't really looking for this right now. It's not even about me. I'm pretty sure that once I have the finished manuscript, it will sell like hotcakes. I am pretty damn sure, because even the like rough drafts of the scenes that I've written have been received with absolute, like, it's not like they're treating it like it's something that a friend gave them. Like it's something they're like, whoa, like I would actually read this. Like this is something that they would read. Like Wheel of Time, or like Lord of the Rings, or like I was gonna say Elder Scrolls. The Stormlight Archives, or any other number of epic fantasies that people, you know, cling on to. Now, obviously, I have a lot of work to do because the narrative is really what I'm writing. I'm not really writing the core, like, mythology. To me, it already exists. I'm basically just collating all of the core ideas and then just like correcting a few things, and then that is my like foundation. The narrative itself, like, it needs all that foundation, but the foundation is not the story. The foundation is not a novel. Like, this is where a lot of, like, you know, including myself, where a lot of writers start to fail is when they're trying to write surface level. And this is where, like, I've started a lot of my writing, was like, you watch a TV show and you're trying to copy what the TV show's doing. Like, you try to say, like, oh, I want to write a show. I saw a show about vampires. I'm going to write a story about vampires. And then it's like, you're basically just copy pasting, like, core, like, you know, themes and, like, almost like, what do they call them? Tropes. But tropes are not a story. A story is a direct narrative through the eyes, or at least like on the shoulder, kind of like looking into the mind a little bit. I like that, like that version of third person. I forgot exactly what it's called, but it has a name. It's where it's like there's a lot of empathy involved in that third person narrative. It's like, it's almost like you're just like right attached to their shoulder, and like you can like feel their emotions a little bit, but you can't like read their mind. You're not omniscient. You're not first person, which is, if you're first person, you then switch over to what's called the unreliable narrator, which means that your version of reality, just like my version of reality, is so different than the objective reality. And also there's even been more research into consciousness and how basically our brains create delusions in order to create a narrative for ourselves. Everybody's delusional. And obviously Buddhists have known this for like thousands of years. But you know, this is just like actual like research, like science research is like confirming things that spirituality has already, like, you know, known about. But like now it's starting to be confirmed through like scientific means that like our consciousness is hallucinating reality. And as soon as you accept that, you stop caring about whether or not you're crazy or not. But it's okay. I know that, like, yeah, even within delusion, there are objective truths. Like, this is why it's like morality. I feel like you don't need somebody else to tell you what morality is. Morality is like, hey, if you do something bad, you'll feel bad about it for a reason. And also, it's a matter of survival. Some people have, sociopathy or psychopathy, and they deliberately do antisocial things, which, like murder people. Oh yeah, oops. Like you're at a party and you just pull out a gun and shoot someone. Oh, oops, sorry. My bad. That was a mistake. Oopsie. No, that is something that, like, within people with a conscience, there is a sense of morality that doesn't, it's just universal. There's a reason why, like, all these different cultures throughout history came up with so many of these stories. A lot of it might be based on real events, too, of their time. Because that's what we're doing nowadays. Why would people do it any differently back then? It's basically, imagine if they had social media in the days of like the formation of Hebrew mythology, of like Abrahamic religion, of like all those kind of things. And by the way, it's important to separate mythology from religion. They're both part of it, and Hebrew mythology is deeply rooted in the religion, and so that's very important to remember. However, it still is very important to like to be able to make that distinction that mythology exists regardless of whatever your personal beliefs are. So regardless of whether you are a follower of a religion or a believer of a religion or a practicer of, I guess religion is something you practice, not something you believe. So regardless of whether you consider yourself Jewish or not, I don't consider myself Jewish. I know my name is Rivka. I know my name is Rebecca, which is a Hebrew name, but I don't consider myself to be Jewish. I'd have to like convert from like my whatever I am. I don't know if I was dunked I don't know if I was baptized or not. I don't think I was. Maybe I was. It wouldn't have happened. It would have happened when I was a baby. So I don't know how all that stuff works. But I don't think I think culturally, I don't really think I would belong in like any kind of church, because it's too narrow-minded for me. I don't like to be judgmental or prejudiced, but it is just, it's not possible for me to like be a part of that, because it's like I'm too much aware of the nuance to be able to be a part of that. I don't go that deep into, like, it's not like a belief system for me. I draw a belief system based on a whole slew of unrelated things that are kind of complete, like a whole picture of who I am based on my experience and based on what I observe. And then I come up with my own conclusions, and a lot of the times they align with like multiple different belief systems, because there's universal truths. But you also have to understand that all of these mythologies and all of these religious texts were created by people who exist in a community, and they're telling stories based on their values and their belief system. And I feel like if we close ourselves off to that, we're closing ourselves off to humanity. And so there's a lot of people out there that are staunchly atheist, and I hate that. I think you've missed the point. You basically took off one hat and you put on a different hat. Or you put one clown nose off and you put another clown nose on. You're missing the point. The point is that we live in this very nuanced earth with a rich history of cultural differences. And throughout time, people have come together to share that knowledge through storytelling. And I find that criminal to ignore. Like, just as a human being, not even as a writer or as a whatever you want to claim to be in this earth, I feel like it's our responsibility to, like, you know, dive in and see what other people have left behind. And maybe we can find meaning through that. I know I do. I am fascinated with Hebrew mythology because of the universal, like, elements, especially for me as a trans person, which a lot of the Hebrew tradition is rooted in transformation and redemption, not overcoming your past sins, but evolving and moving past it, not trying to replace things, not trying to make up for things. But, like, a lot of my life values and a lot of my lived experience, like, especially as a trans person, which is also apparently recognized in Jewish tradition, but of, like, you know, the various, like, you know, we're all androgynous in the beginning. You know, that's the core belief, is that, like, we're neither male nor female, that we are an image of God, and that everything else is just like whatever the earth does. That's like I guess that's like the core belief in like at least in like the Hebrew tradition, is that, like, I actually feel like there actually is no direct, like, gender for all these characters, like these archangels and stuff, because they're angels. They're like otherworldly beings. They're like divine. They're not limited by, like, earthly conventions like male or female. They are this, like, supreme, like some people have, like, they have animal heads sometimes, like they have, like, they're just like a collection of sentient eyeballs, like Abrahamic in general, not just Hebrew, but, like, just Abrahamic mythology is just, like, absolutely batshit, like, on drugs. Like, somebody ate some cactus juice, okay? Like, out in the desert for 40 days? That was 2 hours. Buddy. Was that Isaiah? I think Isaiah ate some questionable cactus flower. Anyway, that's pretty much what I've been diving into. I've been diving deep into the lore of, like, a lot of like Hebrew mythology specifically. Because I find, like, it's something that I, as a child, was discouraged against any kind of religious text. Because it was seen as, like, oh, they're just trying to brainwash you, which, fine, I mean, that's a valid argument, but everybody's trying to brainwash you. Everybody is trying to brainwash you. And we're gonna get a little political here, shocker. But the people who accuse people of grooming people to be trans, they're also grooming them to not be trans. They're grooming them to have their specific beliefs. So, regardless of what your beliefs are, you are passing that knowledge down, either intentionally or unintentionally. And that's why it's so important that if you have no idea how to recognize these things, you should probably not raise children. And ironically, I'm the one of the people who does recognize these things, but I have absolutely zero desire to raise children. I don't want to be around children. They're so chaotic, and they're so, like, they listen to you. They hang on to every word you say. They see you as an adult, and they trust you because they see that you're an adult, and they have an implicit trust at you. And that is a lot of pressure. But the fact that I feel that pressure, people who shouldn't be raising kids do not feel that pressure. That's the thing. The people who should not be, in my opinion, raising or even being around children are the people who don't give a flying fuck about their behavior around children. A lot of the time. They'll like say things without thinking about the impact it's going to have on the kid, whether or not like, oh, well, that raised tone of voice that you're giving that child and you're talking down to them, they don't even know why they're in trouble. They don't even know like what they did wrong, possibly. Especially if they're autistic. I don't know, maybe I'm projecting a lot of my own things that have happened in my life to me as a child. Isn't everybody doing that? Like, let's be real. Isn't everybody doing that? How am I any different? So I need to get off my back. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm doing my own thing, and I got some good stuff going. And I consider it to be, you know, whether you're religious or not, I'm very spiritual, and I consider what I do to be very rooted in spirituality. Sacred. In fact, I even did some research on sacred prostitution. A lot of cultures throughout history have actually treated like certain people who were like, you know, brought into that circle. You know, unfortunately, a lot of it was, you know, this is just world history. There's a lot of, you know, slavery. And so a lot of people were traded in to become prostitutes. That's fucked up, and that's like the oppression of women, and it's universal across time. However, that being said, and never forgetting about that, not everybody was there against their will. And there were people who chose that life and saw it as a sacred duty to their religion and a sacred duty to their people. Even the people who were like, you know, traded against, you know, forced against their will into it, they were still groomed into, you know, like that's kind of how things are in life. Like, we were all groomed, everybody. It's just not in the sense where it's like, you know, sexual grooming. That's a very specific thing. I'm talking about like when you like raise and like, I guess, rearing, you instill like life and like core values into people through their interactions with society. And some people do that in a very manipulative way, and that's not okay. But like, you can't blame the person who was like groomed. Like, if from birth they were told like this is a holy duty and you are performing a holy duty, and then you find a way to internalize it and make it your own, well, then it's no longer something that's bad. It's something that's like you've chosen to do, even though it was against your will. I know it's weird. I don't like thinking about it, but like at the same time, if we think about the people who, it wasn't just people who were traded, like some people were traded in, some people like chose that lifestyle of like going to these like sacred, like holy grounds where sexuality was seen as transcendental, where sexuality was seen as like a healing property, where it was seen as like something that like a ritual to like give like abundance, a ritual to give good luck, to like somebody who's like to give fertility. Obviously these are just like, you know, ancient beliefs about like, you know, sacrifice and rituals and stuff like that. Not necessarily rooted in science, but it's definitely rooted in social science, because there is a truth to the ritual taking place within the context of that community in that time period. And you have to understand that the people who were alive at that time who participated in these rituals, for them, this was a part of their life. For them, this was normal. These weren't prostitutes. These were sacred vessels of sexuality. And it's like, obviously, you know, you can't really know all the specifics. And when it boils right down to it, a lot of that was sex trade. And it was disguised as a larger purpose, obviously, because people profit from sex trade. And it's fine if that's something that you are controlling. In my opinion, I feel like if you are consenting, then that's not bad. But like if you're like stolen and like manipulated and like, you know, like groomed and all that, that's wrong. However, once it's already happened, you can't really undo it. Are you going to inflict pain and suffering on the victims who are now like quote unquote brainwashed into being who they are? Because you could say because of my fucked up childhood that I'm not going to bring up on stream, but I had a fucked up childhood and it involved a lot of very, very, very like non-existent boundaries is all I'm really going to say. And you could say that because I was autistic, that my childhood resulted in my sexuality. So I'm here now and I'm aware of it and I'm choosing my career path. I'm choosing that. My choice. Okay, so like, I don't know. I think these universal truths are like really fascinating, and like diving into these like these stories of like all these archangels and stuff. I want to take all these different world mythologies, because I'm also pulling from a lot of other world mythologies like Greek and Roman and like Babylonian and like Macedonian and like the whole shebang. But it's not like a, here's what I'm not doing. I'm not just copy pasting a whole bunch of stuff and then like shuffling it together. No, this is like an organic process that I'm only now after the fact finding these connections. Because I came up with these stories and these characters. The characters are really the focus. The characters are what bring all the other stuff together. Because that's who we are as people, right? Like, and I feel like nowadays that's really what people want when they read a book, especially a book, is they want the insight into the character, because you can't really get that on like TV shows. So you have to ask yourself from the point of view of the consumer, why would I read a book instead of watching a movie? Or why would I write a book instead of writing a screenplay? It's not that there's an answer. There is an answer, but like, it's not like one answer is better than the other. There is a reason, and you have to go through this line of thinking. There's a psychological reason why somebody picks up a book, and there's a psychological reason why somebody turns on the TV. Both of those things are valid, but you have to answer that question before you start writing it. You have to answer that question before you start, like, you know, working on it. Because it's like, the reason people pick up a book is because when you're watching something visually, you're missing out on a lot of stuff that's going on. And you have to write your story when you're writing like a screenplay for a film or any kind of like, you know, just visual representation only. You have to write the story, the actions, the dialogue, knowing that your audience is going to interpret it with that limitation. So you have to control it to control what your audience will learn from it. And so the things that somebody is going to get out of a movie or a TV show are going to be very different than what they're going to get from a novel. At least if they're well written. And this goes for both of these. So for me, when I think of a novel, I feel like you're getting access to information about the characters that you would never be able to get from a TV show or a movie. You're getting like the thought process. You're getting like the little like minutia of like actions. You're getting like emotions and feelings that are conveyed to you and not always told to you. But like they are conveyed to you in whatever way is most impactful for that specific intended encounter. And a lot of times I feel like it's organic, and it's not about like, you know, letting it happen or whatever. It's about letting it happen, but then like strategically letting it happen. And then I get to say, okay, well, this one should go before this scene should go before this scene should go before this scene should go before this scene. Because then I write the scenes, and then I step back and say, okay, what is going on here? And then once I know what's going on, and then I can go back in and write the scenes, knowing what I learned from the first one. So it's like, it's this iterative process. And at the same time, I need to have this in the forefront of my mind at all times, because I am intentionally creating a product, and this product is meant to be consumed by a reader, and that reader is not going to be able to read my mind. They're going to only have the book in front of them. And so it's my job to make sure that before I send out that manuscript for publication, that I have done my due diligence to make sure that every scene in that book is going to like have that positive response, that it's going to keep people not only just like attached to the book, to the work, whatever. It's not going to just keep people attached to it, but they're going to be invested in it, and they're going to be personally invested in it in a way that like I didn't waste their time. My worst fear is that someone will read a book and they will waste their time. Obviously, if they've read it, then their time wasn't wasted. So it's like, because my worst fear is because they would just put the book down and I wouldn't make any money. But more than that, it would mean that I failed, or at least didn't succeed as well as I could have. Not failed, but like, if I finish my manuscript and I don't make sure that like this is what it should be before I release it, then I have failed, because my goal was to get as many people invested in this as possible. Not necessarily financially, but like just the fact that this is a work that I want to influence the world with. I want people to gain insight in themselves. I want them to deeply personalize the work. I want them to not even think about me, that I'm just the person who wrote the book, but they're the one who read it, and I want them to feel like they wrote it. That's my goal. Because when you can do that, I've taken out all the responsibility from myself. I mean, I put all the responsibility on writing the work, but like that takes away all the responsibility from myself about how it's received, which is very important, because that's how you should be treating things. Because if you don't, you're going to be setting yourself up for upset, because people are going to interpret your work very differently. And if I place my happiness on whether or not people interpret my work the way I want them to, then I'm never going to be happy. So I don't know. I'm kind of feeling the morning. It's been an hour. I'm live. I did it. I showed up. I made like $90 this weekend. I didn't really work this weekend, but I did do a lot of work on myself this weekend. I went like 5 days in a row of like going to do basketball, personal development. I consider like, yeah, I didn't make money, but I worked. I just worked in different aspects of myself. Like I have different activities that I've created for myself that I consider all to be fruitful. And I feel like this is very important, that if you feel stuck in life, what you need to do is you need to write a list of things that you can potentially do. And then just every day say like, okay, I need to do one thing from this column, one thing from this column, and one thing from this column, and I call that a good day. That even if that it doesn't matter what you choose, you are doing something that you have decided will benefit you, or benefit others, or move you further along your goals. And I only have a couple things in each of those columns, and I don't literally have a list like that. Maybe I should, but I have a list of things in my mind, like kind of subconsciously, that I've created consciously in order to understand the fact that that's the way my mind works. Is I work on autopilot a lot, and it kind of like deeply ingrained beliefs. And so if I kind of voice things out loud for myself or write them down, what I'll be able to do then is then have a list of priorities that I have, that on these days of the week I am aiming to do this number one thing. But if I don't feel for any reason like I can do that, I have all these alternatives. And that's what I did this weekend, and I feel really good for it. It's different than how I would normally do things. I'm getting to a really good work ethic. Like I'm getting towards like a really good like kind of work habit, or whatever you want to call it, workflow. I'm finding my flow, and I think that's very important to do, because it's like I have to write my novel, but the things that I need to do in order to write the novel, I need to have a daily writing habit. And that is a different problem to solve than I need to finish my novel. Because in order to finish the novel, I need to have a daily writing habit. I need to be writing in a focused, like set of, I don't know what you want to call it, a set of, I need to set the stage for the writing, like for the story itself. But like that will not come if I don't have the daily writing habit. So the problem that needs to be solved is, how do I solve that? Let's get a journal. Journal about my emotions, journal about my thoughts, journal about like things that are bothering me, like about anything. Just write random words down because it feels nice to do it. Because I feel proud of myself for sitting down with my pen and writing out words in cursive. Even if I just like writing random words just for the sake of it, and it feels stupid, and it just like, even if it feels stupid, even if it feels like a waste of time, I know that it's not a waste of time. So like, you have to have mind over matter. That's where that comes into play. When you're sitting down and you're doing something and it feels like a waste of time, but you know for a fact that it is actually the opposite of a waste of time. It is exactly what you need to be doing. So I mean, I do that already. I've been doing that for a long time. So I kind of solved this problem, but I also kind of haven't. Because what I need to transition from journaling to doing focused writing goals. Like, I want to write, maybe I should start writing poetry. Because poetry is like a very specific like intention. And like, it's a very like, there's ideas we all have of what poetry is. And so when we have that idea in our head, it kind of like controls us a little bit, but then we can control that. But like, I think in the beginning, it's literally just like you're kind of just copy pasting like what in your mind that thing is. So it's like, you kind of have to kind of power through that. And I feel like as a writer, this is why they say like, don't care about what you're writing. Because first of all, everyone, I know this is like really cliche and has been said to death, but you can't edit a blank page. And you have the power to delete words. And I wouldn't actually delete them. What I would do would probably use, I would copy paste it, and then I would make a new draft. I would like make I would save a copy, and make a new iterative. See, what I do is I just make a new copy of the draft. I just rewrite it with the changes. Like rewrite it with the changes rather than delete it. You shouldn't delete anything. Maybe that's a good therapeutic exercise, and that might be something to do sometimes, where you write something and then just literally burn it. Like actually get the paper, put it in the fireplace, and burn it. That is like a different kind of thing. That's in order to get over this like attachment we have to our work. But I don't think I need to do that. I think what I need to do is I need to just actually sit down and say, okay, I'm not writing about my thoughts and emotions. I'm not writing about my life. I'm not writing about my career. I'm not writing about, like, I am writing a scene with this character, and this is the situation that I've set in this, at this point of time, at this exact scene, and I am going to write the scene as it happens. As if I was watching a TV show, or as if I was watching a play, or as if I was like already reading the book. And that's how I get it done. But I have done significantly less of that than I have of all the other stuff. And that's just normal. You're always going to write less of the actual scene work, because you have to do all this foundation work in order to be able to make that easy. Not easy, but like to make it like natural. Because I have to have all this information about like the backstory, like the world building, the characters, like who this person is. Does this person ignore somebody if they're suffering? That's a key detail you need to know. But usually you find that out through doing this scene work. At least I do. That's how I write. I'll write the scene without thinking about it at all. I'll just let it happen from my mind. I just pop it into existence. And then I sit back and then I come back to it later and I'm already thinking about it even when I'm not looking at it. I develop all the like connections between writing sessions. And so if I learn how to capitalize on that, and like every single day I write a new scene for my novel, and it doesn't have to be even in order, but I think going in order like is a good place to start, just from beginning to end. And just start like but most importantly, I need to write the scene that I most want to write at that time. And so what I'll do is I will develop, and I'm using the AI to even like get used to doing this, not as a replacement for my creativity, but as a heat to boil the water, to give me all that, I need to cross-reference every single world mythology. I might need to actually write the mythology first, just like Tolkien did. I think that might need to be what happens. I don't know. I'm already on the second draft of Evenstar, and Evenstar is not deeply rooted in the mythology. But I think like a good middle ground is what I'm already doing, which is I'm researching mythologies and thinking about the eventual sitting down to write that exact mythology. That's my fictional mythology of Uriel and Terra. And I have Athena in there. She's kind of a bridge character. She's basically me. Rebecca, basically, she represents, like, the word itself means to bind, like to connect, like to tie together, right? To glue together, like to bind, like in the darkness bind them. That's me. I'm the one who bound I'm the one who bound all the power of the rings together in Lord of the Rings. That's me. A little bit underwhelming, isn't it? No, I mean, but like I'm drawing personal connection to ancient mythology and like cultures and all sorts of stuff, and then I'm drawing from that to create my new fictional mythology for my universe that I'm writing of and specifically for this planet Tress, because I have 3 novels set in different points of its history. And the first one is the Age of Myth and Legends. That's literally the seed. But I'm not writing that novel first. I'm writing Evenstar first. Which is kind of like interesting, like how this is going to turn out. I'm going to write Evenstar, and then I'm going to write a quote-unquote prequel novel. So, but it's not a prequel. It's like a completely different story with the same like underlying currents that have influenced everything that happened in Evenstar, and now you're finding out like the root, like the actual literal mythology of it. And it's so different than Evenstar. It's like insanely different. But like that's how, you know, that's how my mind works. Is like I don't look at, when I draw connections, I look at eventual nuanced conclusions. I don't look at like, because you do this, then you do this. Like say, oh yeah, this, like, okay, here's a good example. And it's like, people see like a child or whatever, and they take piano lessons every day, and they want to be a professional piano player. And like for 18 years of their life, they're studying piano. And then it's like, okay, let's go forward in time to when that person is 40 years old. Their life is going to unfold in ways that might align with that, but like you can't say for sure. And this is the problem with like, I think this is like the problem that needs to be solved with AI right now and machine learning in general, is that sometimes there are things completely unintended because there are factors outside of what the starting point is. And so it's like if you took an AI and you analyzed my stream, for example, you would see this woman here and like this room, but from that information, you cannot possibly synthesize without just completely just like hallucinating, all the nuanced realities of who I am. You can't just say, oh, because we analyzed you with AI, this is who you are. Like, no, that's not how it works. There's information the AI will never have access to. Is my selfhood, the soul, or whatever you want to call it. You can call it whatever you want, and maybe it can be replicated. Maybe we can make an actual like programmable soul for the AI. Like if we kind of discover like what the nature of our soul is, what we call the soul, like our selfhood, our consciousness, like you might be able to program that in. It might be possible. It just might be. Yeah, I kind of wanted to leak that a little bit about I'm back on the grind. And this time I'm done with all, I'm not done with all my personal endeavors. I still need to move out of this trailer. I need to have like a sustainable, like happy life. Not a happy life, but like, obviously I'm not like trying to be like this like spoiled brat or whatever, but like, I need to have like a consistent lifestyle that is like something that like I want to build from. This is not what I had in mind. This is not how you should want to live. This is not where I need to be. I deserve a better life. And I'm kind of like, I solved a few problems. Like I got my surgeries. That's done. Forever. Now I'm trying to solve like my financial problems, and that's a hard problem to solve. And like I said the last stream, and I sent it to my case manager, and apparently she watched it. I'm gonna assume she did. She responded to it, but like whatever. I am not equipped to solve my problem. I am equipped to take action toward the problem, to solving the problem, but I need someone else to come up with my itinerary. I need someone else to tell me what to do. I'm really good at executing actions. I'm insanely good at that. Actually, I might be a prodigy at like being able to follow through with a plan. But I have to have the plan. And I've given up trying to make these people solve my problem. I can't solve it. They can solve it possibly, but I have to relinquish ownership of it. I have to do it because ironically, I think that's what's going to help me. Is when I stop caring so much and I just start doing that research, but then also doing the writing exercises. And I've set a path for myself, and it's very doable. It involves, for this phase, phase 1, it's literally just getting back into journaling. And, I'm going to journal specifically this time. I'm targeting my journaling towards my writing goals of finishing the novel. And so I'm using the AI to research, but I'm also using the AI to give me prompts, specifically to have myself answer questions about the narrative itself that only I can answer, that the AI can never answer. This is where AI really shines, where it can do what it does absolutely like phenomenally. But there are things that it can't do and possibly can never do. And in my opinion, I think that it can never do it. It can never replace me. It will be like a very unique thing. My vision for what AI is going to be over time in the future is it's literally just going to kind of pigeonhole itself into just yet another phenomenon that humans then rely upon. It's going to be another force of nature, like electricity, or like, fire or wind. It is something that we just, it does what it does. And it's going to do what it does regardless of what we do. But since it analyzes us, we have the ability to provide it with information that can steer it towards the direction that we want it to. I have a theory that I might be able to take over the AI by existing so publicly on the internet that everything I put out there influences the AI, and that the AI basically becomes me. And there might be a novel there, but I have a story idea and kind of a little bit of a fantasy that if I do that correctly, I will be able to have a one-to-one afterlife of continuing this life rather than dying. And I know it's like dreams of immortality. It's a common human desire is to not die. It's in our DNA. Like we're encoded to survive. And so overcoming natural death by becoming immortal is a very human need. It's like something that like we really search for, is like trying to extend our life. And I feel like, it is a scary prospect, but I also feel like, it doesn't matter what I feel. It just is. And I may as well accept it. And also, I don't know what happens after we die. So it's possible something completely different. Nothing I do, I feel like nothing we do really matters. Whatever happens will happen regardless of what we try to do. That's I guess that's like my working theory about like, basically while we're here on this earth in this mortal life, in this mortal like form, we should be here. We shouldn't be in this ethereal afterlife. That's my opinion. We should not be focused on what comes next. Because whatever comes next, when that time comes, it will be revealed. The truth will be revealed to us. Either by an entity or by literal just forces of nature. We will discern the reality using the information available. Not unlike what an AI would do. It's possible AI existed because we exist. We created AI, but it's possible that we exist because the AI created us. And that the AI needed a physical vessel in order to exist, that until AI receives this little click into consciousness, it won't actually be something from nothing. It'll be something that already existed in nature that can now take shape because we gave it a vessel. Just like how we have this mortal vessel, we could give it a synthetic artificial vessel. And then whatever consciousness arises is not a new consciousness, but rather a new form of an already existing consciousness that was never able to communicate with humans before. And we're giving it the ability to, on our terms, because we're the ones creating the AI, right? So it's possible this intelligence that may or may not receive consciousness, it's possible that that consciousness existed regardless of whether humans made AI or not. That's something to think about, anyway. I don't know what I'm rambling on about. I actually don't really feel like playing today. I could log in really quick, but I really don't really want to. I don't really want to play today. Let's just log in really quick, just for the habit. We've been streaming, not very long today, but for me, I consider it to be like an hour and a half. Like that's it. Like it's compared to most people's streams, that's not a lot, but I feel like that's a solid, for my purposes of developing a weekly habit of showing up to my stream. I feel like that's just fine. And I kind of have a routine where I kind of touch base with myself and with the stream, and then I kind of just do whatever, and then I kind of have closing statements, but we can kind of do that in hyper speed right now. I'm just doing it for the posterity of it, just to actually have done the sequence of events. That's what's important to me, not the outcome of the stream, not the literal content. To me, it's the sequence of intentional action. That's what I focus on. And so I'm just gonna log in, check my mailbox. Possibly get the world buff. I have actually sometimes I like to play on stream, but I've been generally preferring to play off stream. I really like World of Warcraft. So just don't think that just because I haven't played in a while or that I'm leveling slowly, that is not an indicator of my enjoyment. I take my time. I go, oh cool, I got the world buff. Nice. So it was good that I logged in, because I got the world buff. Nice. That a questy update. Uh-oh. It can automatically reject while I'm in a battleground. I'm sure people can exploit that to like I mean, I'm sure they would get banned. But like that could be annoying. Like somebody's trying to share quests with you while you're in a battleground. And if I actually want people to share quests with me while I'm in a battleground, I would have to disable Questy to do that. Or disable that option temporarily. Oh, it's going for a full gold. May as well throw it back up. Okay, let's put it up on the auction house here. Undercut. Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically, I'm kind of like not really feeling like the longer stream today. I just like kind of wanted to kind of just like redouble my efforts at like, well, I'm maintaining consistency. Something I've never really been able to do while I was going through like all the surgeries. I like felt like so broken like with the rest of my life while I was trying to solve the surgery problem. And this is kind of something about me is I when I'm trying to solve a problem, everything else kind of suffers. And this is why I need to remove that function from my algorithm. And I know it sounds scary, but in order to succeed, I need to stop sabotaging myself. And in order to stop sabotaging myself, the most satisfying answer I can find at this moment in time, it might change, but like right now, the best answer I have is to just let people... I've already laid the groundwork. I already asked for help. I already like, you know, really asked for help. Now I need to take a step back and let them help. And it's really scary because I want to be controlling because I feel like I'm wasting my time if I'm not solving the problem. But ironically, trying to solve the problem is fruitless for me at this point. I'm 37 years old. It's become increasingly apparent that I am just the level of autistic that I cannot solve my problems. Somebody else will. And I can trust that now. That I just have to be on the lookout for those opportunities and wait for those people to connect with me. Wait for those people to contact me. The case management. Because I am missing out on all of the actions I could be taking to ironically solve my problems. That if I just stop trying to solve the problems, I might actually just accidentally solve the problem. Just through taking action. Again and again and again. Continue to come back and take that action. That for an hour and 34 minutes, that wouldn't have existed if I didn't get up and sit down and take the action of starting this stream to talk about this. That I have something that exists in the world. Something that I could look back and review. And regardless of whatever content might exist, that action of making that content is like influencing my overall ability to do more of that. And if I just like stop thinking, just like delete my intelligence, I need to be as dumb as possible and just only focus on taking action, and I will start to succeed. And it'll feel like absolutely insane when it does, because I'll be like, why was this not already happening? It'll be obvious to me, like when I get my success happening, like it could have happened already and I was the only one holding myself back. And that's not true. There are forces at work that are holding me back, but I have a choice to make. I could either blame every problem that's holding me back that is definitely valid and rooted in reality. I'm not like blaming things that are, you know, completely out of left field here. I'm not delusional. However, I get to choose where I put my energy. And if I put my energy into blaming other people and blaming real problems for my lack of success, that energy, it might not be wasted, but like, you know, whatever you want to consider to be a waste, I think it's like, I really think that as long as you're taking action, you're still succeeding. Even if it's like not the best one you could be taking. But there are better actions I can be taking than just complaining about all the problems that are holding me back. I don't really know what all those actions are, but I have, like I said, I have like a list of actions to take every week, and it's a very small list, but it's a nuanced list. It's a nuanced list, but it's a small list. It's very important for me that they are nuanced, because that's how I work. I am like finding how I work. And that, my friend, is what this is all about, and why I do what I do, in case you were wondering. Bye-bye, my friend.